South of Midnight was supposed to be different, bold, artistic, culturally important. It had the backing of Xbox, the influence of Sweet Baby Inc., and the kind of press buzz that screams Game of the Year contender. Basically, all the hypes of these legacy media, Sweet Baby Inc., and even Xbox has that only any indie developers could ever dream of. But here we are, 1 month later, and barely anyone's talking about it. For those who don't know, this game was developed by Compulsion Games, the same studio behind We Happy Few. It was pitched as a Southern Gothic action-adventure set in a mystical version of the American South. It blended folklore, magic, and stop-motion animation to create a unique visual experience, at least based on the trailers that they've released. The game starred Hazel, a young black woman navigating a world filled with swamp monsters and spiritual creatures. Not really sure what they are. On paper, this was actually a hit, visually distinct, story-driven, and culturally rich. But as we'll see, none of that really mattered once people actually got their hands on it. Also, we got Sweet Baby Inc. You've probably heard that name by now. They're a narrative consulting firm that's been involved in dozens of recent high-profile projects, usually with a focus on diversity and inclusion. They help shape the narrative for South of Midnight as well, and let's be honest, a lot of the marketing too. And it actually didn't help because, Sweet Baby Inc. is already on a dumpster fire. It was actually notorious for forcing their message or political messages in our games. And before anyone had played the game, the talking points and hype were already everywhere. Representation, identity, cultural celebration. Critics praise it as a milestone for black storytelling in games. It was put on a pedestal. Media outlets repeated the same buzzwords, and Sweet Baby Inc. was happy to take the spotlight for their role because clearly they're actually pretty active and pretty transparent about their involvement in this game. The problem though, when South of Midnight launched, it landed like an owl flying in the middle of the night. Pretty silent. No hype, no big marketing push, no explosive trailers. It just kind of showed up. And the players who did try it quickly discovered the truth. Clunky combat, shallow mechanics, boring platforming, and that beautiful stop-motion animation? For some, it was actually a visual treat, but for others, it was, game-breaking. It was nauseating. Turns out looking unique doesn't really mean playing well. Add in technical issues such as bugs, crashes, performance dips, and the whole experience started to unravel really fast. But the reviews were actually pretty lukewarm. Even though there are people criticizing it, there's also some that are praising it. Especially the critics, the legacy media. But as time goes by, more and more players are criticizing it. Players' numbers drop, and suddenly the story shifted from cultural breakthrough to wasted potential. Even some supporters of the game's message starting asking along the lines of, why wasn't the gameplay given the same care as the narrative? Some even began pointing fingers at Sweet Baby Inc. again, not for the representation reasons, but for the pattern. They are very notorious at doing this, focusing on their messages, lores that coincides with their political agendas, without having too much focus on the gameplay itself. Games like Forspoken, Gotham Knights, and now South of Midnight all had narrative consultants hyping things up before gameplay was ready to back it up. Again, people already hate political correctness, at least majority of the gamers. So if you don't have a decent gameplay, it will not end well. The only thing that people will accept political wokeness in their games is if you have a very solid gameplay. At least people will be split, But if it's already woke and the gameplay is trash or at least mid, no one's gonna care. People might say that I'm just stretching things out. Well, numbers don't lie. Look at the comparison. This is the stats of South of Midnight, but let's just focus on the player count. Let's compare it to Schedule 1, an indie game released on March, few weeks before South of Midnight's released. Also Repo, another indie game released on February. Both of these games are doing quite well despite not having legacy media and Sweet Baby Inc. and even console companies such as Microsoft hyping it up to the core. These games just got released, people got curious, of course they tried it. And since the gameplay is nice, they love it so much, and eventually, up until today, people are still playing. Even if we argue, just for the sake of fairness, that South of Midnight is a single-player game compared to these indie games, which often has less player, just look at the numbers, man. It's not even close. Again, South of Midnight isn't just a flop, it's a warning. When studios outsource their vision to consultants more focused on optics, on DEI quotas, basically focusing on their messages instead of the gameplay itself, players will notice. And we are done. Gamers are done pretending not to. It's not just about rejecting diversity, it's about rejecting shallow execution. People want games that don't focus on political messages. They also want games that have great gameplay. And more importantly, players want games that respect their time. South of Midnight could have been great, but instead it became another case of style over substance, hype over gameplay. And a month later, it's already fading into the depths of forgottenness. Maybe next time game studios will remember, no matter how noble your message is, if your game sucks, players will just not stick around. That's about it, guys. What do you guys think about this unfortunate event that happened to South of Midnight? For me personally, I think this is a win for us consumers. I'm not against diversity, but it should not be forced and it should be done properly. And more importantly, gameplay should be polished first. So yeah, that's it. If you like this video, please push that like button and maybe subscribe while you're at it. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Have a great day ahead. Goodbye. Peace.